Hey guys, welcome back to Journey with Rebecca. So I just came inside from harvesting a bunch of chickweed from my backyard. Backyard foraging is one of my favorite things to do this time of year. I think I learned about chickweed, what it was, more than just a weed, and its medicinal properties last year, but time just got away from me, much like it has today, and I wasn't able to actually use it or forage for it or anything, so I am making sure that I make time for it this year. So there was a big patch of it out in the backyard, and we just got to mow for the first time. And when I say we, I mean my husband. I didn't mow. But I asked him not to mow that patch because it's full of chickweed. So it's been super wet, and it's very overgrown. But I finally was able to get out there today, which I meant to do hours ago, but time has just gotten away from me. I did a ton of computer work this morning, which if you haven't ever checked out any of my YouTube shorts, go on over to the YouTube shorts tab on my page and check that out. I do a series called Knowing What's Growing, where I basically just highlight things that are growing in my garden. A lot of them have medicinal properties, so I just do short little videos about those. Anyways, that's how I spent most of my morning. But I finally was able to get outside and harvest all this chickweed, and for my purposes today, I'm going to be turning it into a salve. So chickweed's really good for your skin. It has cooling properties, and it's great and gentle enough to be used as like a diaper rash cream if you turned it into a salve, which is what I'll be doing. I've made a lot of salves before. I don't think I've ever made one the same, and I probably won't make this one the same either. There's so many recipes out there if you want to, check out your own, or you can use mine, which I'm sure I'll put in the video description for today. But it's also great for like bug bites, itchy skin, stuff like that, which it's mosquito season, so I thought it would be great if I made one of these. Plus I have a new grandnephew that will be entering the world any day now, so I thought it would be great as a gift. I also have a baby shower to go to this weekend, so I thought why not make something homemade to bring to the mom-to-be. Before we get any further into the video, I want to tell you a little bit more about the benefits of chickweed. It's full of minerals like calcium, iron, magnesium, potassium, and zinc. It has vitamins A, B1 and 2, and is packed with vitamin C. It's helpful for liver, kidney, and bladder issues. It makes a great poultice and can be used for coughs and colds, and also helps stimulate your metabolism. The leaves, flowers, and stems are all edible and can be used in salads or as a garnish, and it has a mild flavor, no bitterness. And like I mentioned, it's also really great for your skin. Like always, whenever you are doing any sort of backyard foraging, you want to make sure that you've properly identified whatever it is that you're foraging for, and you want to make sure that it hasn't been treated with any pesticides, especially if it's something that you're going to be ingesting. I always give everything a quick rinse and just let it sit and air dry for a bit before I move on in the process. I have my chickweed that has been sitting for a while, and it's for the most part dry. It dried really quickly, but I realized that I said I was going to make a salve, but maybe you don't know what a salve is. So a salve is basically just like a soothing ointment that you put on your skin. It's typically been infused with some sort of herb or medicinal plant, which is what we're doing today. So like I said, I've made salves before. I've also made peppermint menthol balm, which is also soothing. And what makes it a balm and not a salve is the fact that I didn't infuse the balm with any sort of herb or anything like that. So that's the only difference there. And then there's a lot of different ways that you can actually make a salve. Like I did mention that the recipes all differ, but you can do several different methods. And you can dry your herbs several different ways, or you could choose not to dry your herbs. If you wanted to make a salve and not go through the process that I'm going through now, which takes a lot of time, and just use a fresh herb, you could do that, but you would want to use whatever salve that you're making quickly, because if you're not drying or dehydrating it, it could lead to moisture in your salve, which could make it turn rancid. So that's the reason why you always want to dry whatever you're using before you introduce it to your oil to infuse your oil. So you can dry your herbs in a dehydrator, you could set them out in the sun, you could put them in the oven, low and slow. It's really up to you and your preference. I tend to use my dehydrator because I find it to be the quickest method. And then there's also really a lot of different ways that you can infuse your oil as well. I prefer to do a quick method because I am impatient and I don't like to wait. So what I do is put mine on like a double boiler on the stove, but you could also do that in the sun as well. But I feel like that takes too long to my liking because I'm impatient and I just don't want to wait that long. So I'm just going to continue very tediously taking off these leaves from my chickweed and putting them on my dehydrator, which I think I might have to look into a different dehydrator, because when I'm doing things like this and the leaves are really small, it's really easy for them to slip right through. And I know they make dehydrators that have different sorts of trays that would probably be better for the types of things that I'm using it for. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep pulling off these leaves. It is going to take me a while, and I don't want to just have you stand here and watch me do that. So I'm just going to continue doing this and get a couple of trays full before we can actually get them into the dehydrator, and then these should dehydrate fairly quickly. Okay, it's the next day. I was a little too ambitious for my own good yesterday, and it was just impossible to get all the things done that I wanted to do. So it is the next day. I just got home from work. I'm going to try to finish up this salve now. So what I ended up with was about half a cup of the chickweed that I dried. It took a lot longer than I expected it to, and it just is what it is. So I am making a makeshift double boiler here with just a pan with a tiny little bit of water in it and a wide mouth canning jar, and I'm just going to add my dried herbs into my jar. And then to that I'm adding sunflower oil. It's up to you what kind of oil you want to use. You can use a good quality olive oil, you can use the sunflower oil. It's really up to you and what you want to do, what you have on hand. I happen to still have a ton of the sunflower oil on hand, so I'm going to use this, and I'm not measuring it. I'm just covering it so that all of the herbs are covered. And then I'm also adding a quarter cup of coconut oil. It's solid right now, but it will melt once I turn the heat on. And then this is just gonna be a slow burn. This is gonna sit on the stove. It's not going to boil. You don't want it to boil at all. You don't want to like burn out any of the goodness that's in the dried chickweed. You just want it to be a nice slow and steady infusion. So it's gonna go on a low heat and simmer. Simmering is fine, but no like rolling boil. You don't want to boil it. So this will probably sit for 2 hours, just infusing all of the good properties from the chickweed into the oil, which then the oil will get turned into a salve. So while that's happening, I'm going to continue with the many, many, many ambitions that I have on my list. The oil infused for 2 hours on the stove on a very low heat, and then once it was done, I used some cheesecloth to strain out the chickweed. For this recipe, I'm using half a cup of the infused oil, which means I do have some left over. The leftover oil should be sealed and stored in a dark place, and it will keep for up to a year. So now if I want to make more chickweed salve, I have the oil already, or I can make something else from it. I drained the oil right into my measuring cup so it would be easy to pour once it was ready.
Then I added half an ounce of beeswax pellets and half an ounce of shea butter right into the oil, and it went back on the stove to melt. I added a few drops of vitamin E oil. Vitamin E oil is really good for your skin, and it helps heal wounds, reduces itching, and moisturizes skin. It basically does all of the same things that the chickweed salve will ultimately do. So I'm sort of just adding to its healing properties by adding the vitamin E oil. I also added a few drops of lavender essential oil. Both of these things are completely optional, but I had them on hand, so I decided to add them. I will add links to the products that I've used in today's video in the video description if you are interested in getting any of these things to make this for yourself at home.
Here is the finished product. It's just about set, but it looks like it's set really nicely. So I have 3 of these now. One I'm going to keep for myself, and then the 2 I'm going to give away. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this is great and gentle enough to be used as a diaper rash cream. So I'll just put a little label on it about what it is and the ingredients, and then I'll give those as gifts. And then the other one we'll keep for ourselves here. Again, great for things like mosquito bites and any sort of skin irritation or itchiness. And I still have all of this oil as well, so I can either make more if I want to, or I can find another use for this as well. So I'm really excited that I got to get outside and use the chickweed this year. There's still so much more that I want to do. I'm exhausted by my ambitions, so stay tuned. Please let me know if you try this for yourself, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you guys soon. And I suck. So I have my, I like to put them in these, why do I ramble? Why do I ramble?